right, everybody, welcome back to the Options Action Member Roundtable. This is our second roundtable. Very excited to have two traders with me, and we're going to talk a little bit about how they got into it, and then we're going to roll from there. We're not sure exactly the details of what we're going to get into here today, but Dave, if you want to introduce yourself first, then we'll head over to Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, first of all. My name is Dave Sneehall. I'm a multifamily commercial real estate broker here in Chicago, Illinois. A real estate guy through and through, so trading was a little bit new to me in the sense of doing it as a professional, right? I was typically a buy and hold guy that didn't really look at my portfolio for too often, maybe once a month or whatnot, but didn't do too well doing that, so found a different avenue to pursue and understand the financial markets a lot better.
Awesome, and we'll get into that too. Scott.
Yeah, and likewise, thanks for having me. My name's Scott McDowell. I've got roughly a 30-year background in technology, everything from product management, user experience. These days, when I'm not trading, I'm leading a team of just passionate technologists and neuroscientists who are building a company called Pet Connect, where we're literally reading the minds of animals using non-invasive EEG technology. But throughout my whole career, I've always had a passion for investing. Kind of started off in the late 90s, just, putting money away in the 401k, just very passive. And then started taking control of my own management in probably like '08, '09. Started swing trading stocks in like 2013, and then about a year and a half, 2 years ago, started getting into options trading. So that's kind of been my background, and yeah, just like I say, always loved investing and trading. So
That's awesome. Yeah. So, and this is the beauty of it too that I find is, people come from literally all different backgrounds all over the world, right?
yeah.
So why don't we talk about that first? Like, what got you into this, and maybe what made you want to trade options specifically? I'm just gonna leave it there, and we'll just kind of see where that takes us.
Yeah, I can jump in first if you don't mind. For me, it never really crossed my mind as far as options trading or whatnot. But I came across Bill, and I've been following him on LinkedIn for a little while, and he had a good presence. So the curiosity was piqued, right? So I said, okay, this looks like a cool avenue to, pursue in terms of, what the message is that Bill is sending out. Like, hey, you can learn a skill that'll help you make some supplemental income there for yourself if you're willing to go ahead and learn. And I'm a constant learner. I always think, constant and never-ending improvement. One of Tony Robbins' sayings. Big Tony Robbins fan. So that's always my mantra, is to learn and grow. And following Bill, I noticed that he was genuine. His message came across well, and that's I've always kind of wanted to get into stocks at a higher level than what I'm doing right now. So I looked into options a little bit more, and I was like, well, maybe I'll learn exactly how to master that skill. So that's just the messages from Bill, and then doing a little bit more of my own diligence.
Love it. And Scott, it seems like you were. It seems like, and Dave, I don't know your investing background, but it seems like Scott, you had done a good amount of trading, whether it was like swing trading, but it wasn't options trading, I guess.
Correct.
And this
Yeah.
was, and then you started doing options trading, I guess, with options action, or did you try it before that, or what was your experience like?
Yeah, tried it before. So yeah, spent about 10 years just doing pretty much monthly or quarterly trades on, large, um, cap stocks like Meta, technology, high volatility stocks like Tesla. So I was doing okay with that, but had always noticed that, the leverage that the options traders had seemed to be able to just have more control over the investments in terms of just leverage. For every contract, you're managing essentially 100 shares of the underlying stock or company. And so I had done a little bit of trading on my own, just Robinhood, doing some basic calls and puts. Uh, Ratio wasn't that great, honestly, it was probably anything that I did make or lose was just by luck, and getting out at the right time was purely luck, because it was very radically different than trading stocks. So then I started following a bunch of people on LinkedIn, YouTube as well. Kind of narrowed it down from about a dozen people down to like two people. And it was primarily those that were talking about live trading and saying, "Hey, come check it out." So, yeah, that was it. Ended up taking Bill's master class, and from there, it's really changed my philosophy on just price action, what's happening, both at the macro and kind of the micro level.
Yeah, and we may get into that too, some of the details. I assume, you were just enthralled by all the 21-year-old traders with their
Right.
Lamborghinis, right? And that's something that, I've been working with Bill for a little while now. I've seen, and also just myself, right? I mean, if you're anybody, I mean, especially, a younger person too, you see a lot of this stuff of like the cars in the house and all that stuff. And I really like how Bill has positioned it as a skill set and not this,
Yeah,
thing to get a thing, essentially,
exactly.
which I think is really different, which I bet you guys agree with. In terms of the background, I mean, you guys come from very different backgrounds, real estate and technology. Dave, had you had like have you traded stocks before that? Anything similar to this? I mean, I know you've had some maybe longer term investments, but did you try to trade on your own as well, or?
No, it was never my intention to like have a portfolio and trade. It was really just to buy blue chip stocks and hold them for the long term, and take some risks on some companies that I thought had good fundamentals to grow. Even if they weren't, mega cap stocks or blue chip stocks. My success rate there wasn't that great. I never even considered options. I always thought it was kind of a risky play there, so it didn't really add up for me because I didn't really have the time, first of all, to allocate, and then I didn't have the guidance of a mentor, right, to learn the skill. And you mentioned the YouTube videos, and I actually didn't even look at the YouTube videos or anything until after I took Bill's class, and I kind of went down that rabbit hole, and I had to stop myself pretty quick because I was like, okay, this is getting out of hand. I need to stick to the fundamentals here with the Discord group because we know everybody in there is pretty, they're bought in and they're legit, and a lot of stuff on YouTube is definitely not what it seems. So.
Yeah, you could almost like fake anything too. There's also that aspect. Not even, I mean, like, and also, yeah, you can use one great trade as your whole advertisement, and of course that's a whole podcast about that, but probably two. What did you guys think when you were going into this though? Like, you sign up, you're watching the live trading. Like, just what's the mindset of like, are you going in like I'm gonna make some money or like I'm gonna learn the skill? Like, I just think it only you and the folks who have actually done it know what it's like to take that first step from I'm YouTubing, I'm buying this course here, I'm watching this guy here to like, okay, I'm going to learn this. What's that like?
For me, it was very much like the classic metaphor of drinking from a fire hose, right? With passive stock trading, even if I was doing a swing trade, I was kind of zooming more out at, like I mentioned earlier, the weekly, the monthly, the quarterly time frames, and you're just trying to, gauge: are we in a downtrend? Are we coming out of that? All right, let me try jumping in and flipping this stock. It might be 100 shares that you're picking up of Apple. And with options trading, it was just so much information at the same time, especially when you start learning about confluence trading, watching futures, VIX, watching, let's say you're trading AMD and like Bill's doing live every day. He's also watching NVIDIA, he's watching Intel, he's watching all of these other companies. And for me, that was the biggest adjustment, was being able to process so many pieces of information so quickly. And then I think I made the classic mistake of, let me just add another indicator and another indicator and another indicator. And you hear people from Bill's Discord talking about, just turn it all off and just get back to the basics of charting, understanding your levels, understanding the price action, and then re-engage those indicators. Because what I noticed was I was doing really well, and then I just went sideways and just kept striking out. And I'm like, what is going on? I've added 9, 12 different indicators. I should be better at this. And it ended up making me worse, actually. So now I've kind of just keep it simple, stupid type of thing, right? Took it back to the basics and pretty much shut off all indicators, except for just a couple of them at this point.
Yeah, yeah, my process was pretty similar. Before I joined Bill's group there, I actually asked him. Well, obviously, I followed him for about 6 to 8 months there, and then I liked what he was doing on LinkedIn. I liked the messaging. So then I asked him. I was like, March Master Class is coming up here of this year, and I asked him like, I like what you're doing, and he was very transparent and responsive. So I asked him like, would you mind giving me at least 3 to 5 folks that have been through your class, and maybe I could reach out to them and ask them for their opinion and see how they feel about it. And he was very forthcoming on that, right? He said, "Yeah, here you go." And it just so happens that Scott was one of those guys that I did reach out to, and he gave a glowing testimonial. Everybody did, and there's nobody that said any negative things. I mean, they actually set me up on what to expect as well, right? And I knew this. This is not a get rich quick scheme, and if somebody comes in here thinking that, they're probably going to get hurt pretty bad on their expectations there. So this is build your skill set, learn how to do this as a business, right? And not a hobby, right? That you're going to do this, you're going to, like Scott said, you're going to learn price levels, you're going to learn supply and demand, you're going to learn how to use Confluence there. You got to watch a couple different things here, or maybe a few different things, not just a couple, right? Before you take a trade, and that takes muscle building, right? I mean, a lot of people are not used to doing that, right? This is task management, right? So you might be looking at 3, 4 different things on 3 different screens, and you're like, okay, now I'm going to enter this trade because all my signals are lining up, and then you're going to also kind of do the same thing when you want to exit. So yeah, honestly, when you go into this, if you haven't done options before, like I hadn't, it can be somewhat overwhelming, right? But at the end of the day, if you're up for the challenge, which whenever I step into a new arena, I'm always up for the challenge. I'm not a quitter, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go all in, and we're going to figure this out. So that's kind of how it was, and the transparency from Bill and the group, everybody in the group has been really good. I mean, if you need some help, there's always people that kind of help out in the Discord and give you some guidance on what their experiences have been, and there's no me. It's a lot more go givers in the group, which is what I really like. That's what I gravitate towards.
Any other thoughts on that? I don't know, Scott. It looked like you were
Yeah.
percolating over there. So
No, I was just in full agreement. The Discord is such an incredible community where, there's full transparency. There's like no egos there. You can post your wins, your losses, and it's interesting when people post their losses, you'll see a lot more people jumping on those posts to understand and help them flip those L's into W's, right? Whereas like over on the gains channel, you'll see people putting up fire and little thumbs ups and things. But when people post their losses, you'll see Bill jumping in, USC Iceman, all these different people really trying to understand like, why did you take the trade? What was your setup? What was your exit criteria? To really try to help people, as Dave mentioned, and this is what Bill always teaches us. This is a skill. Like take the money out of the just and that's another thing that I think a lot of people, including myself, when I first started trading options, I was really focused on the percentage because I was seeing other people with 200, 300, 600% gains. And every time I tried to swing for those grand slams, I would end up striking out. And then the other thing was, as Bill always says, take the money out of the equation and just focus on the skill. Really understand why are you taking that trade, and why at that moment in time did you end up, maybe going heavy on it. 5 or 10 contracts versus 1 or 2. So yeah, just kind of echoing Dave's sentiment on the community as well as just the excitement around trading.
Yeah, it's valuable to have that. I just want to chime in on that. I mean, because a lot of times it can be lonely when, especially when you get those losses there, right? And you're like, oh man, I kind of messed up on this one here.
Yeah.
But then if you can, like Scott said, you can post it in there, and then you get some guidance on how to avoid that in the future. That's invaluable to me.
Yeah, I think this is what people need to hear. Maybe if they might not want to hear it, but that's something that I've noticed that Bill does a lot. Is he's just going to tell you what you need to hear. It might
Yeah.
you might not want to hear that. Hey, your ego took this trade, right?
Yeah.
You might not
Yeah.
want to hear. You don't want to hear
Totally.
that, but it happened, right? And
Yeah.
that's what mentorship is, right? I mean,
Yeah.
100%, man.
One of his favorite sayings is "Stop doing stupid ish." So
Yep.
Yeah.
so
No, it's true, man. Now, easier said than done, right? I mean,
yeah.
oh my goodness. We've all done it in life and business. And so, why don't you, yeah, because this is something that I think I learned a lot from him too, is the EQ side.
Yes.
So, and of course, you guys are further on in life. You have, I assume, businesses, job, families, things like that. Like, but what about that emotional kind of intelligence, and how do you guys kind of control, that side of it, so you hopefully don't get into that territory where you shouldn't be when it comes to trading?
Yeah, I don't mind taking this first.
Yeah. Go for it.
As far as emotional intelligence and just understanding your tendencies, right, as a human being, we're all different in that sense, right? So it takes knowing oneself to understand, how this ties into the trading dynamics, right? So for me, it's been a journey there to kind of develop that emotional intelligence, especially for me in the last decade or so. So I think I came in to this segment of my life trading at a good time where I had a lot more control over it than I did when I was a little younger in my 30s, right? So it does have a lot to play with it, because mindset is everything, and risk management, discipline on what your rules are in terms of trading, right? If you're losing 2 trades a day, you probably don't want to keep trading, because you're going to be prone to revenge trading or doing something silly, right? That really goes against your rules, right? So just having that mindset and having that discipline that, hey, these are my rules, this is what I follow. I take 3 to 4 trades a day if the market gives them to me. If not, I take nothing, and I may take one. Doesn't matter, right? But I look for the right trades, which is the most important thing, right? Quality over quantity, and make sure that you understand why you're getting into them. So, again, being at this stage in life is definitely a little bit more helpful to me than it would have been if I was younger.
Yeah. And I'll piggyback off of that in terms of on the EQ side, absolutely being able to, I guess, regulate the greed versus fear emotions. Echoing what Dave said, absolutely. Back in, I vividly remember the dot-com crash, and I had someone managing my account for me back then, and they were like, "Oh, we got to get out. We got to get out. I'm moving everything out." If I had just held on to that, I would have been Apple, Microsoft, early. Yeah, a lot of great
Hey, you
stocks
weren't the
were,
only one, right? I mean, come on.
right?
There's that too, but
Yeah, so a lot of great stocks were liquidated because the person it was ultimately my decision to make, but I was young. I was just pouring everything into tech because that's what I knew. It went down 80%. But the one thing it taught me early on was patience is king. So some of my best trades, whether it's through options or going back to swing trading stocks, are those that I picked up, like Meta pre-IPO. I'm still sitting on shares of that I haven't touched, and it's grown for 15 years now. Palantir, same thing. Picked that up before they went public. Still sitting on those, and so the I guess the one piece of advice that I would offer anyone there is just really learn to kind of control that greed and fear. There's a lot of great quotes out there around just playing to those emotions, and when other people are, greedy, I think it's Buffett is like that's the time to be fearful, right? So start taking some off the table, protect those profits. As Bill always says, don't let a green trade go red. So kind of watch what the market is doing, and if everyone's just going crazy, buying or selling, use that patience as kind of your one of your strengths to play off of their emotions. And yeah, so far it's worked out pretty well, and I think it holds true whether you're doing stocks or options.
So there's a few. There's of course the reasons are different as to why people do get into this, right?
Mhm.
Um, there, yes, you can make money. I was gonna say you're going to make money. Well, you don't exactly know that. That's up to you, right? If you're going to make it, how much you're gonna make. You know, this can be positioned as, of course, there's professional traders and there's people like Bill who, had the banking background and then they went to that. There's people that I guess maybe they would consider it a side hustle, as the options action members know, it's not, we don't want to look at it as a hobby. We want to treat it like we're professionals because we are professionals. That's how we actually can continue to do it. So
Mhm.
why did how do you guys look at this? Is this like an extra income? Is this like a side hustle? Is it just the skill set alone, regardless of the money? Like, especially at this stage, like people, I mean, Dave, real estate, everybody, you'll have all these real estate folks who say 7% returns, 10% return. All you have to do, it's passive, right? Or you can own your own real estate, or you can invest, even Scott, what you do and hold, there's these alternatives in terms of like, okay, now what do I do? Maybe I want to make more money, or maybe I want to just invest, right? Build wealth, right? That could be a reason. But what do you guys find is like maybe the reason for, or a version of the reason why you think you do this and, continue to do it and grow?
Yeah, for me, it was learning a new skill set. Yeah, we have real estate investments. I'm a broker as well as an investor. So, we've had some investments do good, some that didn't do so good. So, I mean, it's also about diversifying, right? And not just putting, I might be a real estate guy, but I can invest in other different things and learn new skill sets, right? I mean, there's nothing that says that I can't. So for me, it was, well, maybe you want to caught me about 5, 10 years ago now. That's not for me, but I think I've evolved in the sense of like, okay, let's see different things that might make sense as far as learning a new skill set. So that was one of my things when I did ask Bill a bunch of questions before joining up, was like, realistically, how much time is required to kind of master the skill. And he's very transparent. He said, you got to put in the screen time, and you're probably going to be at least 9 months to a year, depending on what level of knowledge you come in with, right? With my level of knowledge, it was somewhat nominal, right? I was kind of a newbie there. So yeah, it was going to be all of that, and I expected that, right? So I'm 5 months into this journey, right? And I feel like, take me back to March when I first started this, I wouldn't recognize myself, right? Because now I know so much more about how the game is played here, right? As far as just knowing different things on how to watch for signals, look for trends, and just learn fundamentals, right? As a retail trader, I mean, most of the folks don't do it at this level, right? Because a lot of times they don't have mentors, and a lot of times, even if they do, some of the mentors are not as legitimate or whatnot, whatever the story is, right? And I feel like it's a blessing for me to be a part of this group that we do have a positive environment with folks that are legit and transparent, showing what they're actually doing and not just talking about it and posting whatever, a 2 minute video about it or whatever. And the proof is in the pudding here, right? So I love that, and I feel like I'm big on coaching and mentorship. I've gone through a lot of coaching and mentorship programs, as I mentioned Tony Robbins before. But yeah, I mean, you pay for speed when it comes to that, right? At the end of the day, and hopefully you can avoid some of the mistakes that you would have probably made if you did it yourself, right? By having a group of folks around you that have a lot more knowledge than you do, right? So I have no problem, ever investing in myself if I'm gonna, find an interest in a topic or whatnot, and trying to accelerate my progress.
Makes sense. I'd ask you the same thing, Scott.
Yeah, for me, it was really coming into it, kind of seeking more knowledge. The way I looked at it was, okay, well, I've been, classic buying and holding certain stocks, swing trading other stocks. And as I was going through Bill's master class curriculum, I was looking at it from the perspective of, even if I don't go down the options path, as I had mentioned before, I like Had a couple of wins, pure luck. I just happened to get in. I had no idea what I was doing. Really knew nothing about the Greeks and, theta and how these options can burn up time. And so I was like, okay, great. I made 66%. This is awesome. The next one I ended up losing like 98%. And then the next one, I think I lost 40%. And so, the way I looked at it though was the knowledge that I'm going to get out of the master class, whether I end up continuing down the options path or not, I can still use a lot of the chart analysis, understanding price action, understanding deeper into the psychology of trading. And so from there, I was like, all right, worst case, I paid some money to learn something that I'm going to use anyways. And I would just be using it, less often and on stocks. But then started, within the first week of the class, was already in the simulator making trades. And next thing I know, I'm like, all right, this is fun. I'll continue balancing it out with stocks and options. And now it's probably 90% of my trades are options and 10% are now stocks or stock related, might be covered calls on some existing shares. But yeah, so now it's gone, complete opposite. So
Yeah, there you go. That's that, and it makes sense, right? I mean, if it works and it works for you, then
yeah,
then you're going to continue to do it, right?
yeah,
And so, how
yeah.
long have you been doing trading options now, Scott?
So I would say, excluding the few trades that I did last year, I really started December of 24. And so, what do we got? Like 9 months now. Yeah, took Bill's class in January, so made a couple of trades leading up to his class, and then yeah, throughout the class was doing, all sim based in the Thinkorswim simulator. None of well, the three that I made last year were real. That was real money that I lost. But yeah, so this year it's been probably 8 months now of just
Yeah.
solid trading, and sometimes I take a trade in a day, and sometimes I don't see a setup I like, and might go a day or two without taking any trades until I find one that I like. So
Yeah, and I think a question that, of course, that you guys had and what people are going to have is like, okay, great. Like, what should I expect? Like, what am I actually going to learn? So,
yeah,
can you guys talk about the simulator a little bit? Because that is the first leg of the journey in a sense, right?
Um, so I'm actually still in the simulator because I'm still working on my risk management and my discipline as far as controlling that fear and greed. I've been in there since April, so about 4 months now, and I think I've got a good handle on it. So I might spend a little bit more time in there just to kind of I I have the tendency, I should say, to have a higher risk tolerance than some folks, So I'm spending a little bit more time in the simulator than most, just to kind of, train myself to understand, the kind of mindset that I want to go into this with, right? We all know ourselves better than anybody else will, right? So knowing myself and having that background there, I always wanted to kind of say, okay, well, if you do this right. You can't go in there with the same kind of mindset of, taking larger risks and losing capital, right, like that, right? Especially as fast as options can go, right? I mean, we're definitely getting into trades, for 3 to 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and if you're going heavy on position sizing on a trade that that you shouldn't have, just because you're sometimes an adrenaline junkie on some risk, that's not a good strategy. So, and I'm not saying that's what I would do, but I just don't want to do that. And, I just want to kind of train myself on how to do this correctly. So the value of the simulator is just really like, okay, and Bill tells you, right, if you're going to trade, 1 to 10 contracts, do that on the simulator too. You don't trade 100 contracts on the simulator and then come into trading thinking, 100 contracts is going to cost you like $9,000, maybe if it's $90 a contract deal. So you're not going to risk $9,000 unless you know what you're doing, right? So, yeah, it's just really about being practical, building that mental muscle there of, what kind of risk tolerance you have and how to execute properly with it.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like a place to kind of test yourself in a sense almost,
Yeah,
right? Like of,
100%.
I think this is what I would do. Okay, now let's see it actually play out, and whew, nice. I didn't
I've
have to
learned,
take that
yeah,
risk.
I've learned a lot of about myself in the simulator too, because there's some things that I had to change, and I'm glad I was in there when and TradeZella has been awesome. I mean, you got to journal your trades, right? I mean, you really got to kind of understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, and then try to figure out what you can do differently, especially on the losers.
Yeah, what about you, Scott? Did you transition did you also do the simulator?
Yeah. I spent and I still do for back testing if I want to
Nice.
change or tweak kind of my system, if you will, or my methodology. So yeah, I'll still go in and say, okay, well, what if I end up trading, doing more entries at this time period versus this one? So then I can go back, um, you know, do that back test, see how it plays out. But transitioned out of the simulator back in January, and so was doing a combination of both live trades and sim trades. But yeah, still use it. Even if I'm just testing out the mechanics of Thinkorswim, just so you don't go and make a mistake in your live account, which is something I think we all end up learning painfully. Is you think you've got something figured out, and then you go in and reconfigure your Thinkorswim window and learn that your stop was not good till cancel, and it was time and force, and you wake up the next morning and your stops are gone, and yeah, so there's all those little things that you can learn in the sim, versus doing it in the live trading view. So, but
Yeah, and I think a lot of those expectations, I think we covered it pretty well. Was there anything else that you guys would say, before you jump into the masterclass? We have the next one kind of coming up around the corner here for folks who haven't jumped in. Any could be advice, could just be thoughts on, hey, before you go into this, here's what you should know, or here's any advice you might have for them.
yeah, I would say definitely look at just the instructions on how to use Thinkorswim, TradeZilla, TradingView, which is a different tool that is used for charting. A lot of those mechanics of using those tools, um, I think I probably would have been able to get more out of the class if I wasn't also trying to learn the tool sets themselves. And Bill does a great job of walking you through it. But I would say if someone's got, if it's coming up a month from now, spend a month just learning those basic mechanics of it, because now you're able to focus more on the message that Bill's conveying, which is, and he's got so many great sayings, right? Like singles and doubles are better than always trying to swing for the home run. And screen time is key, and don't let your green trades turn red. So he's got all these great sound bites that you end up missing when you're sitting there trying to figure out, like, oh, was I supposed to be doing this in TradingView, or am I doing this over here in Thinkorswim? So I would say that would be one aspect, is learn those mechanics, because I'm still using the three tools that he taught us, right? Thinkorswim to execute the trade, trading views to do all the charting and kind of mental strategy and prep work, and then trading view to do all of my kind of retrospective of journaling, understanding why I took a trade, because it's moving by so fast on you during the day that if you don't immediately, at least for me from a workflow, if I don't immediately go straight to it, then I'm going to forget. I'd be like, no, wait a second, that was NVIDIA on Thursday versus NVIDIA on Monday. And, it's really easy to kind of mix up why you went into a trade, why you got out of it. So I think that's another thing, is just think through the psychology of your workflow, and then the psychology of trading. And Bill's recommends some great books. But yeah, just research any trading psychology books and really get that grasp of understanding greed versus fear and how powerful those emotions are in driving the markets.
Yeah, 100% agree with what Scott's just mentioned there. It could be a little overwhelming. They're trying to learn some new tools. I myself did watch some videos there also to kind of understand and then read up a little bit on how to use some of those tools a little bit better. As far as Charles Schwab has some good tutorial videos on Thinkorswim
Yeah.
and TradingView as well. Their channel on YouTube has some great stuff on how to use that platform. So trying to do that simultaneously, as Scott mentioned, they're trying to soak up the new information that Bill's giving you along with learning the tools. Sometimes can be a little overwhelming. So yeah, if you can get ahead of it, that's great advice that Scott just mentioned, and try to maybe get a leg up and start a month ahead and say, okay, well, I've got this class coming up and I know these tools are going to be used. Let me go ahead and just try to at least get the basic fundamentals down on them, right? So yeah, this is again, this is a skill, right? This is something that if somebody's on the fence or somebody's looking to come into a master class by Bill or any mentor of their choice, but you want to come in with the mindset, in my opinion, with the mindset that you're going to learn, right? And Bill says, another soundbite from Bill is, money is a byproduct of the skill, right?
Yes.
So get in there with the focus of learning the skill. That's my whole goal, and that's honestly that's why I stay in the sim for a little bit longer, along with the risk management side of it. Right, is just understand this is this is not a 2 month, 3 month thing here that you're gonna try to master. It's rarely ever that you get anybody that's gonna come in there and do it that quickly. It takes a little while to get some success in having this skill here. So come in here with that mindset that you're going to go ahead and put in the time. I mean, I've heard so many people say that they, even successful traders, they were never profitable for 1 or 2 years when they started trading, right? And just to go in there with that expectation that maybe you won't make money, but like we said previously when we started this, try to learn. Just learn stuff, right? What did you do wrong on the trades that went wrong for you? How can you go ahead and up your win percentage, right, on the trades that you're taking, right? And just constant learning, right? And so if you go in there with that mindset, I think at some point your trajectory will get that hockey puck, or I'm sorry, the hockey stick linear nature there to accelerate your progress.
And of course, the terminology is good to know
Yes.
as well. There's a lot
Yes.
of terms, you know.
Yes.
You got the Bill one-liners, but then you also got the, I don't know if this is it, but your calls and your puts and your what have There's so much that too. I think that's fantastic advice. I would definitely, as somebody who jumped in because literally my friend would just text me, be like, trade this and then sell that, and of course, disaster that only lasted a week. But yeah, don't do that, of course. But yeah, start familiarizing yourself in that world, and then it's like anything, right? It's the reason why you guys are here in your careers, respective careers too. It takes time, I
Yeah.
mean, no matter what it is, technology, real estate, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It's a skill set too, same way that this is. So, but I think fantastic advice. Get embedded in it. Watch the watch list, even if you just have the watch list in
Yes.
the background. I think is great.
Yep.
Did you guys
Oh
watch
yeah.
that as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I tell people all the time, just sign up for Bill's watch list, but also grab other watch lists that are out there as well. There's, dozens of free watch lists. See how, Bill's charting and his analysis is different than, even people in our own Discord, right? The Option Actions Discord. You got Iceman and Bryce and Gus and all these people in there who have, their own style because there is a bit of art and science to this. So I recommend people, watch all of the free watch lists first. Understand the tools that you think you're going to end up using, then dive into the class. Or, if you've got time, join the Discord first. Watch, drop into the live sessions because there's nothing like watching any of these people trade live because, they're juggling, as we often see Bill trying to juggle 130 to almost 200 people while he's watching everything else going on. And it's truly like watching a professional athlete who's like totally in the zone for him to be able to do it all in real time and not blow every single trade. And so, yeah, it's
Yeah, try to execute at a high level like he does. It's amazing to me. Honestly, when I first got on the calls, I was like, I don't know how he does it. This is amazing. Like he's going through, like I said, a few screens and just talking a mile a minute, but you're so you can absorb it, of course. But at the end of the day, it's like, wow, I can't wait till I get to that level. That's pretty awesome.
yeah,
It's like, I'm like I said, 5 months in, looking to find my edge, and I think I've got a good idea there, edging towards the momentum trading there. And I think it's one of those things there. If you give it the time and the effort there, you'll see the results. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to give testimonial on my experience as well in this fantastic group.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you guys. Any closing thoughts? No pressure.
just be patient with yourself, with the process. Don't try to rush things, and create like your own little checklist. Like I remember one of the first weeks, and this was one of my actual real trades very early on. I was like, oh, I'm green. I'm like really green. Let me go out and mow the lawn. So I go mow the lawn and I come back. And I went from being seriously, in the money to, upside down a couple $100, but it was one of my first real trades. And I'm like, how the hell did that move so fast on me? And so, just be patient. Don't leave don't leave your setup and do something foolish like I did, like think you can go mow the lawn and come back and you're still going to be green. So, and just create a system and get used to that system and live by that system or methodology. And don't try so many things. There's so many indicators, tons of, you know, different processes. Just find what works for you and just keep it as simple as possible. And just give yourself time. Don't expect to, hit those grand slams in the first month or two.
Yeah, I think Scott hit on some good points there. In Bill's group, obviously he's fantastic, but there's some very very good analysts in there that Scott just mentioned as well. USC Iceman there, August, Anthony, Bryce, Flint, SPX King. I mean, what I'm saying is like you can get caught up and kind of watch everybody, which is good, right? Scott mentioned like learn different ways of trading there, but you can also kind of get overwhelmed, like, okay, so and so is doing this, maybe I should do this. And I've dealt with a little bit of that, right? So I've kind of had to bring myself down to earth and say, okay, well, what is my edge going to be, right? What do I gravitate towards? How do I want to trade, right? So really focus on having an open mind and taking in what you learn, right? But not saying, okay, that's exactly what I want to do, unless it's really something that you resonate with, and that might take a little while to figure out, right? And it did for me, and I think it's still a process, but I'm doing better at it now that I know, like, okay, I don't have to just do whatever so and so is doing, but I can take bits and pieces and say, okay, well, I like that strategy, and I can implement that in my journey here, and kind of craft my own edge.
Yeah, man. And listen, I mean, Bill is gonna train the group, of course, but the one person you're always gonna train is you, right? So that's it. Always what you have.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and have fun with it.
Yeah,
That's
that's important.
Yeah.
That's it.
Have fun. Yep, have fun, grow. If you profit, awesome, more power.
That's it. I love it.
Cool.
Thank you guys so much for
Thanks
being
for
here.
having us. Yeah,
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thank
Yeah,
Anytime.
anytime. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, we're gonna keep these going. Wish you guys the best of luck in your trades, but guess what? You don't need luck if you're in Bill's masterclass. You need skill. That's what you're gonna hone is the skill set. So now I'm brainwashed too, and now I might even join. Okay, maybe we'll see, but I'll talk to Bill. I gotta stay in my podcast lane first, right? But guys, thank you so much. Appreciate you. For everybody listening and watching, thank you again for tuning into the Options Actions Member Roundtable. We're going to be bringing them back at least every other month, so stay tuned for that. And, of course, whenever you're seeing this, the next masterclass is around the corner, so make sure you go ahead and sign up for that. Dave, Scott, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you. Yep. Take care.
You got it.